Okay, welcome everyone here at the Mahtay Cafe in downtown St. Catharines, and to those of you who are watching online at the St. Catharines Standard, Welland Tribune, and Niagara Falls Review websites. So tonight we are here to talk about poverty. A little background, this year Sun Media newspapers across Southern Ontario, we are going to be taking an exhaustive look at the issue of poverty. We are going to be taking it apart. We're going to have a look to see what's inside. We will hopefully be making some changes along the way and putting it back together again better than it was before. So tonight, it's really just the beginning tonight. Tonight, we're going to be hearing from 4 people. One person works in the field, and 3 people live with poverty in their lives. So we really want to start a conversation. So tonight we're encouraging you to tweet your thoughts using the hashtag Faces of Poverty. That's Faces of Poverty, okay? And we'll be having an online chat too on our websites, and your comments will be posted there as well. So let's get started. We're going to get started first by watching a video. So this is a video. It has 18 people in it who live across Niagara, and they're just going to share some of their thoughts about what it means to live poor. So let's take a look.
Sorry.
That's okay. What upsets you?
Family is everything. And I feel like I fail my family because I'm poor.
Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it, but we all deserve it because He loves us all, right?
I packed for a month, cried every day. Like I said earlier, I know a house is just a house, but it's what it meant.
For hydro, it runs out so easily, just because of like to keep it alive, right?
You kind of live in a vicious cycle of you're stuck living on a few $100s a month, which is very, very hard, very, very difficult.
I am scared out of my mind that Mrs. Wynne will cut ODSP down to the amounts that Ontario Works is.
If I ever get a job and, and I can make enough money to get off welfare, I'd love that. Because everybody would make fun of me. Sorry, got tears. And it's hard because I don't know how to read and I don't know how to spell, and everybody makes fun of me. And I don't think that's right.
In order to feed myself, I have to buy secondhand clothing. I have to buy day-old bread. I have to buy food that's just on the cusp of expiring.
And I had to sleep in a room
and there's nothing but fleas everywhere. In the mattress, the blanket you had one blanket. There were no sheets on the mattress back then. You get one blanket and one pillow, and it didn't have a pillowcase even on it, and that's how I had to sleep. Someone said, you don't look homeless. And I thought, how does that look? What does that look?
That there are people that didn't expect to be in this situation, in it. And it's just like that. It can happen.
Macaroni. It's cheap, 88 cents for a pound. You know, you throw a little spaghetti sauce on. What the heck?
Thank God I was able to hang on to things and not have to lose. Sorry. And not lose everything.
What you hear about in school where they say you can follow your dreams type thing, right? But they don't tell you that, you know, they say that you can be this and you can be that, right? But they don't tell you that you can be broke and you can be, you know, owing like 3 different creditors money, and, you know, you can be like having 2 jobs instead of like the one that you want, you know.
No matter, I'm not lazy. I try to work as much as I can, and it still doesn't get me any farther. I'm only one person.
It's just showing gratitude to them about that I'm able to do it. Yes, with assistance, but that's what my life has taught me, that there's no shame in asking for help.
Okay, so let's get talking. First off, I'd like to introduce my 2 guests on stage with me. Catherine Livingston on my left. Catherine is program manager for the Housing Help Program at Community Care of St. Catharines in Thorold.
Yeah, it's a long one.
It is. And on my right is Lisa Breton. Lisa is a mother, a grandmother. Lisa works nights at a gas station. Yep. And you also are supported through Ontario Works, community care, and you live in cooperative housing with your husband.
Yep.
So I want to start talking. I want to talk about that video clip that we all just watched of you. You have 2 children.
Yes.
They're 23 and 19. You have a grandson. How old is he?
14 months.
Okay.
Almost 15.
Your daughter your daughter's finished college. Your son is thinking about what to do in life.
Yep.
You're proud of them all.
Very.
So tell me, what is it about poverty that makes you feel like you have failed your family? What is it?
It's a tough question to answer. But this is what we're here for. There's a lot of things about it that give me those thoughts. I got to give everybody just a quick background on my situation. I remarried 10 years ago. It's a great marriage. We're happy. 10 years ago, I was working 2 jobs. My health was pretty good. And my husband was able to work as well. I worked 2 jobs for about 8 years, and then we're going to call it roughly 2006, I started having really frequent migraine headaches. So after working with my doctor for a couple of years and trying to get better and trying to work with that employer, I just wasn't getting any better, and I found that I had to stop. I had to leave the full-time job that had a fairly decent hourly wage and had benefits. I fell back at that time on my part-time retail job as a cashier. And I started working, well, certainly not 40 hours a week, but I was working a manageable number of hours for me, and I started to feel better as far as the migraines are concerned. Over the course of working, being a hardworking person, doing my best to get ahead and take care of my kids and raise my family and be the other, you know, kind of be the other workhorse of the team, you know, trying to move forward, get ahead. It got harder, not easier, unfortunately. We kept doing our best, and eventually, my husband at the time was working as a chef, so he had this great job that he loved too.
So Lisa, I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. So are you saying that you don't feel like you're contributing to your family anymore as you did before? Is there that?
I feel like I'm not contributing as much.
And how does that really make you feel? You said you had beautiful
frustrating. It's frustrating because now we have this, like you said, I have this beautiful little grandson. And I would
But why do you feel like you failed? Like that's such a harsh word.
It's the way we're looked at.
In what way?
I try. Nobody wants to be poor. Nobody wants to be disabled. Nobody wants to struggle. But that's what it is.
And how do you think people, how do you think people look at you? What do you think people think of you?
I try not to.
Why?
Some of the things that people say about poor people like me are pretty harsh.
Like what?
Like we don't work hard, or we don't work hard enough, like we don't try to change our situation hard enough, that maybe we should go back to school for more training. But where do you get, but that costs money, and I don't have that money.
You feel caught?
Yeah, I definitely feel caught.
Okay, let's just hold it there for a second. So I want to bring in Catherine. So I want to talk about this feeling because Lisa said that she feels like she failed her family. So, and she feels judged. So I want you to tell me about the people that you see in your day-to-day at Community Care.
And I can tell you as many individual people that come through the doors with individual stories, and everyone is completely different. They all come in with that same feeling of shame and that they're being judged, that they somehow have failed. They express it. I mean, by the time they're coming to ask for help, they're expressing how they're feeling.
And where does that come from?
I think it does come from a combination of things. Part of it comes from within, certainly. Part of it comes from the what we're taught in life, from the time, you know, in your home, in your school, growing up, in your workplace. You learn these things as you go along. And when poverty is seen as something that should be shame-based, and it's not, right? It's really not. But I think it comes from a deeper place, and a lot of it does come from society, and you, like so many others, and we'll hear later, and that hear all the time, you've done everything that you thought you were supposed to do.
I did.
So who among us haven't planned for the future? You know, planned for the day that we were going to get sick. We didn't know you were going to get sick. No. You were going along, looking after yourself, looking after your family, not having to use services, and the next thing you know, the rug, you know, things start to unravel. And that's when it starts to unravel, that's pretty scary. It unravels quickly, and before you know it, you're not able to climb out. I see the level of stress that you have sitting there trying to talk about it. I can't imagine the level of stress that you had managing headaches, managing the workplace, and everything, and managing the kids, the 2 workplaces, not having anyone really understand. I mean, the system's not designed to give everyone the individual attention that we need when we become ill or when we're struggling in the workplace. And we all know there's enough research out there, there's enough commentary out there now what stress does to somebody. So trying to maneuver all of that and understand that for yourself, absolutely, that's where she becomes feeling inadequate.
Okay, let's hold it there for a second. So let's talk about specifically how people who are on assistance are judged, okay? So I'm going to throw some things out here, and let's talk about what the result is of that and why we do this. So people on assistance, they shouldn't have cigarettes, alcohol, cable, cell phones, own pets, have internet access. Why not? Where does that come from?
That's what's being sold to us. Why shouldn't we have those things if we want them?
Okay, because they can't afford them, so they shouldn't have them.
So how many of us, this North America, I mean, their national debt is huge because people are buying things they can't afford, whether they're living in poverty or on assistance or anything else. I think that the question is that we've been sold a bill of goods about what poor people or rich people should have or shouldn't have. And when you're living in a crisis state in poverty, you make decisions that you wouldn't ordinarily make. Right? If you weren't living in this situation, you're making rash decisions that you probably feel bad about. But why not have pets? Pets keep people alive. You know, tobacco, alcohol, coffee, all of those things are part of they're normalized in society, and everybody uses them.
Okay,
so
all right. Okay.
Why would somebody all of a sudden finding themselves in a state of poverty not use those things or want those things just like everybody else does?
Okay, so do we have a right as taxpayers to pass judgments?
I would love to have a job where I would love to have a level. I would love to be able to pay my taxes. I'd be proud to pay my taxes.
Yeah. There's no right. There should be a right to having human dignity and to have a right for a home that you can call your own, a right to have food on your table, but to be judged, because let's face it, there's a lot of jobs, 6-figure jobs out there that are taxpayer dollars. Do we judge how those people spend their money? And do they produce anything? Do they create anything?
Maybe we should judge them.
No, I'm just saying, are they as openly judged? You know, they're not the scapegoat. And then people on social assistance, and Lord, I don't even want to talk about people on social assistance being in poverty, because we're seeing families coming in that have 2 to 3 jobs that are living in poverty.
Yep.
Because they're juggling everything. And poverty is expensive. I mean, that's a whole other show about what it does to people. It erodes communities away.
Okay, all right, hold on a second. So Lisa, is it easy to live on assistance?
No.
Tell me how creative. You were telling me about this a couple weeks ago. Explain to me how creative you have to be to make this work at the end of the month. At the end of every month, how do you make it work?
Carefully.
Okay.
In a word, carefully, creatively. One of the things that we're doing to try to improve our own personal situation, little indoor gardening. So that's one way. My hubby, who can't, like I said, he's completely disabled, can't work right now. He started doing some indoor gardening at home. And when we really run short, there's the food bank. I have a bi-monthly pay period, so we kind of just had to try and make the money last long enough to have enough food in the house. And you know, just all the everyday needs, the pet care stuff.
Okay.
Just it's hard to put it into just a few words.
Okay. You know what? We're going to have to leave it here for now.
Okay.
It's a conversation, definitely, right? That's going to happen later on.
Great.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back with another guest. Thank you, Lisa,
My pleasure.
sharing part of your life with us tonight. So we're going to watch. We're going to watch a little video of some faces of people who live in poverty. We'll be back. Okay, we back?
No, it wasn't great.
Okay, welcome back to the Mahtay Cafe in downtown St. Catharines. We're talking about poverty. And just to remind you, we'd like you to tweet using the hashtag Faces of Poverty. And just to let you know, this broadcast and live chat, it's going to remain archived on Sun Media newspaper website, so you can view it later after this discussion. So my next guest is Irene Motz. Irene is a mother, grandmother. You receive Ontario Works. You were homeless for a period of time. You've lived in a shelter. You have your own apartment now, and you kind of represent a growing number of older women who come to community care, who have either sort of divorced later in life or lost their spouse and are struggling to make ends meet, and we'll talk about that later. So Irene, I want you to, you have been homeless, you've lived in a shelter. What does someone who is homeless look like? Can you?
Like me.
And what is that?
Intelligent, loves her family. I laugh and cry the same as everyone. I do the same basic things. Now I am under the heading of homeless, and that was a big drop in my self-esteem. I wasn't seen as Irene any longer. And I wasn't seen by my friends as Irene. All of a sudden there was a stigma attached to being homeless and to losing everything. And I didn't lose everything because of there's a preconceived notion that people with addictions or drug abuses that they're homeless. They're the ones that that's what I was looked at, as if I had done something extremely wrong and I deserved to be where I was. I haven't. I've worked all my life. I've raised 3 children with very little, and I have 5 grandchildren. I've been a strong individual all my life, and all of a sudden, and I've been very proactive with my life, I knew tragedy was going to hit, and I went out there to see if there was a safety net. No, there wasn't. I lost everything, and I ended up in 2 shelters. I moved 9 times within 1 year because of horrible, abusive landlords, and until I reached the doors of community care, I was spiraling. I fell so far, I never thought I could get out of it. So,
okay, just hold it there for a second, Irene. Catherine, can you tell me about people like Irene, the women that you see in your women's group, older women, and just talk to me about who they are?
They're women just like us, like me, for example. I think what I'm seeing a lot, and as the months go on, this started about a year ago. There are more and more women in the baby boomer era coming in who had typically never used services before.
And why are they?
Because there hasn't been that safety net that they grew up thinking that there might be, that we were taught, that there should be something there. They had done everything right. They had, gone to school, they had raised kids, they had married, and then they had to, with things unraveled, either health or death or divorce. It didn't really matter, and that's the thing that I mean, it doesn't really matter how someone got to where they are, where they're using services. The important thing is that I think they all feel very similar, that they have done something to cause this. And my thing is that, well, what have you done when you just did everything that we're told we're supposed to do growing up?
Okay, all right, hold it there. So you say people feel like they've done something to cause their own situation, that you are to blame for your own predicament. So how do you have an answer? What do you say to people who think that you got yourself in here?
I'm very polite, but what I'm thinking in my head is a bit different. It's no, why I'm here today. It's a very difficult thing to come forward and expose who you are in your life and how you live your life now. My goal is to change the perception of everyone of what homelessness and what poverty looks like. And it can happen to any one of you. It comes knocking on your door, it doesn't identify itself and say, here I am, and it just comes knocking, and all of a sudden you lose control of your life, and you pray to God that somebody is going to look at you and say, we're here to help. And community care was there to help, but I went through a lot of trauma before I got there. I lost my home, I lost everything. I ended up in a shelter. I was isolated from my children and my grandchildren because I couldn't show them who I was anymore.
Why?
Because they know me as a strong individual, and to be, it's the way I grew up. It's my culture, and and also the trauma that I had and the experiences with people just looking at me as if I now had a disease. I wasn't going to tell anybody anymore. I'm fine. That was my famous line, I'm fine. Because at the other end of the spectrum is these people were looking at me as if now I don't belong within the community. I was part of that community, and now I was on the outskirts. And
you also told me that you didn't feel part of that community anymore, and you didn't feel, when you went to the food bank, you didn't really feel like you belonged there either. Why? Because you were, talk about that, you were nicely dressed. Yeah, I didn't go to the food bank for the longest time, and I thought, okay, how do I get dressed? How do I dress to go to the food bank? Like, what do I need to wear so people will look at me and say I need help? And it was the same all along, like going to Ontario Works, anywhere. Am I supposed to look disheveled? And then I finally came to the point where I said, I'm going to stay who I am. You're not going to remove that last bit of dignity that I am going to look the way you want me to look so you're comfortable. So I persevered, and thank God I did, because, go ahead. No, that's fine. How much money do you have to spend for groceries, roughly?
$40 a month.
$40 a month?
Yeah.
And so you go to the food bank?
Yes, I go every day. I eat a lot of peppers now. They have peppers there. I'm very creative with what I eat, and I make do because I am not going to go and ask for food from anyone else. Not my children, not anyone, and basically, and I said it this morning, I want to be self-sufficient as I was before, and going couch surfing and asking for food and putting Band-Aids on my situation is not going to help me.
It's about dignity?
It's about dignity, exactly. And your friends aren't going to be there forever, and you don't want to burden anyone. And it's not going to fix my situation that I'm going to be self-sufficient eventually. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, just hold a second there. So, Catherine, I want you to talk to me about, because we were talking about the food bank. Can you live on a food bank diet?
Me personally, or people in general?
People.
No,
do people live on a food bank diet?
It's not meant.
Because I think there's this
there is that conception that people can. Some people are forced to sometimes, but no, it's not. It's meant. I think the maximum, and Betty Lou can clarify this. I think it's about a 3-day meal plan for people, and it's not. You can't live on it. I think I'm quite proud of the fact that it's becoming more. There's blue label shelves. There's more organic things that you can get. There's, we definitely try to cater to all the different cultures.
Okay, but how nutritious?
You can't live it.
How nutritious is it?
Not. It's higher in sodium and the sugars, and there's not a lot of fresh, although it's getting better. I think there's eggs being purchased on a regular basis.
Right.
There's milk, but it's not. I mean, it fills the gap. It fills the void, but it's more, the food bank is more than just the food bank. I mean, people, once they're there, we can identify or help identify other things and to make referrals. I mean, so it is more of a support, a resource place than anything else.
Right, okay. All right, let's go back to dignity. Can you briefly tell the story of when you were I'm going to start it.
Yeah.
You were in a lineup for a food coupon, right? So it was at a church, and you were in this long line, and you were getting closer to the front, and as you were getting closer, the organizers were calling out people's names, and there was names. Your name was on the food coupon. And tell me, how did that make you feel, and what did you do about it?
I felt like I wish there was a hole I could have fallen into, because it was the most humiliating experience. Not only did they yell out my name, everybody behind, and it's it's hard to stand there and ask for food. It's just not what I want to be doing, but I had no choice. Then he asked me my name, and it was just a piece of paper with my name on it, but with that coupon I had to go to Food Basics, where I do shop sometimes for a few little items. People know me there, I talk a lot, so they know me. So I'm not going to go take something with my name on it, and they know well what that is. And it wasn't worth $20. I returned it with a nice letter and said, I'm sorry, but before I go to take this in and cash it in, I will go hungry. I'm sure that you're trying to do the best that you can, but this removed my dignity, and it's not worth that. $20 isn't worth the removal of my dignity. Okay. So I returned it.
You returned it?
I had to.
That coupon, and how much was it?
$20.
$20, okay. So talk about, and both of you can talk about where human dignity meets accepting charity, meets you shouldn't have a choice in this because you don't have enough money for groceries, so how can you not accept it? So how do you merge all those together?
I have to say, first of all, and a lot of people, if they hear that, they say, how ungrateful are you that you don't accept that? And I've had that happen to me. And look at you, you're dressed in, remember, I worked all my life, and these things I had. I worked for them. I didn't ask for anyone to give me anything. But when they look at me and say, how ungrateful can you be? Here, just take it. I have my dignity, and that to me is important. If I lose that, I'm not going to make it through the next day. I'm not going to make it through that day. I almost didn't make it through that day. That was the most humiliating experience of my life.
Okay.
Worse than even going to the food bank, you know, because by then I knew how to dress.
Okay. Okay, Irene, you know what? We're going to have to leave it there for now, okay? We will talk about this later on. I'm sure you will. Okay, so our next guest will be Tanya, but we're going to take another short break. We're going to watch a video about Tanya, just so you can get a little, learn a little bit about her life. So let's take a look at that now. We'll be back.
My name is Tanya Willick. I'm a single mom. My son's 6. He's in grade 1. I work at a rubber factory. Minimum wage. Struggle through times. My paychecks pretty much go to car insurance, rent, gas, hugs. Oh, and hugs. I have 2 best friends. One girl that I work with that I've known for almost over 3 years now, and she makes sure she calls to make sure that me and my son are fine. And another one that he'll take us out to get groceries if we need groceries, because that's the hardest part of after you pay all your bills to find for groceries. No, I'm not eating the week that I don't have Graham because I want the food to be here when he is here. And I mean, I make good meals when he's here. Make ham, potatoes, carrots, you know, big meals.
When you drink pop the whole week, you don't feel hungry?
No. And I'll eat whatever's left if he's gone. If it's going to expire by the next week that I have him, I'll eat that.
Watch this.
I want him to be happy. I want him to be able to do things with his friends. I want him to succeed in school. I just want him to grow up into, you know, somebody who's going to go past high school, go past, you know, college, get something really good.
Which I'm not going to college.
Where are you going to go?
I'm going to stay with you.
Oh. Guess I better get a better job.
Okay, we good? Okay, everyone, we are back here at the Mahtay Cafe, downtown St. Catharines. We're talking about poverty. I'm reminding you to please tweet using the hashtag Faces of Poverty. Our next guest is Tanya, who you kind of just met on the video. Tanya has a 6-year-old son, single mom. You work a minimum wage job at a factory in St. Catharines. And you do receive some assistance with rent and daycare. So, oh, and I should remind you, Catherine Livingston is back here again from Community Care. Sorry, I forgot to do that the last time. So, Tanya, I know we've talked. Your story ran in the paper on Friday. I know you've seen some of the comments posted online since then. So, I think what we should do is talk about some of them. First up, are you looking for sympathy?
No, I'm not. I like how I live. I like what I got. I earned it myself. And I'm not looking for handouts. And I know I saw a bunch of people say, you know, well, how can we get a hold of her? I want to help. I want to do something for her to make her feel good. Making me feel good is like donating to the Salvation Army. They help me, they help others. It's not just one person. I'm not here just to say I'm the only one, because I'm not the only one.
All right. Okay, next question. You have a job. You have a minimum wage job, but you have a job. And I noticed one of the posts online, well, a couple of them say that not many people from stable middle-income families end up in poverty, and then someone else said, why have a car and insurance when you can't feed your own family? So tell me how you can have a job yet still can't make ends meet at the end of the month. How does that math just not work out?
Just because everything is so expensive. I mean, you look at gas. The other day, before Easter, it was $1.27, and it was $1.35. Now it's $1.39. I mean, everything goes up, and obviously minimum wage is going to go up to $11, but it doesn't matter because everything's already gone up. And then anyone who's already making over $11 are already saying, well, if you're going to make $11, I should be making more. So really, you're still stuck at the bottom. You'll never get out of. Do you feel trapped? Like, I think Lisa said she felt trapped. Do you feel trapped too? I'm okay with how it is. Like, it's the way it is. If it gets better, it'll get better. I'm not gonna get knocked down. I'll stay strong and stay happy.
Okay, all right, hold it there for a second. Catherine, let's talk about jobs, because there is a statistic, it says 78% of people living in poverty actually have a full-time job. So is having a job the solution to get out of poverty?
No.
Why?
Because the wage inequity is a real problem, and things have gone up. What I heard this morning was Niagara was now the #1 highest unemployment region in the country. We've surpassed Newfoundland. The other thing was that the wages on social assistance have not gone up since 1992. And then they were cut 20% in 1995. So how can people even keep up with the inflation? There was some disparaging marks made out of the Goodwin School of Business that I won't repeat, but I think inflation and tightening the belts over the years have really, really hurt the average person who's trying to work. Minimum wage, decent wage, it doesn't matter. Everything has gone up. The prices of rents across the board.
Okay, and so to answer the online comment of not many people from stable middle-income families end up in poverty, yes, they do?
Yes, they do, because I think we're seeing it all the time. We're having people come in for assistance with their hydro or their gas.
They have to go through a whole litany of questions, and they have to be, you know, low income, but some of them are just under the wire of that low income. They're working, they have, you know, retired pensions, they have things, and they're still low income, not able to meet the demands of what it costs to live in this society.
Okay. All right, I want to read out another online comment. This person said, they talk about living below a line we call poverty. Seriously, she works and has an income big enough, and they're talking about you. She works and has an income big enough to pay for car insurance, dance class for her son, and buys food. Moreover, she receives benefits from the government. Sorry, but she's not living in poverty, is basically what they said. So let's talk about dance class for your son. He's 6 years old. Why do you do stuff like that? Why is it important for you to do that when you do have trouble paying for groceries?
I don't want my son sitting inside watching movies. You know, I don't have internet or TV, but, you know, watching movies or playing a Wii, you know, it gets a little boring. You need to educate a child. And because my son has ADHD, he needs to burn energy. So having him in tap, you know, gets him balanced and burns energy, and it's something he needs.
Okay, but how do you feel though when, I mean, he's passing a judgment on you. He's basically saying you don't have enough money for groceries. Why are you paying for dance classes for your son? So how do you feel when people pass that judgment on you?
I don't know them. And I don't know that person, so.
It doesn't bother you?
As soon as this is over, it'll be gone, right? Like, I'll never know that person.
Okay, hold on, because I know it bothers you.
Yeah.
Does it bother you, and why?
It bothers me terribly, because I think we all spend our disposable income the way we want to spend it, and we all prioritize our disposable income the way we want to prioritize it. And we don't, I mean, we maybe, but we don't make a loud enough stand about how when other people are using their disposable income on things that we don't agree with, right? So it's very nervy to make those sort of comments, and it's quite ignorant, because unless you have a clear understanding of what that person's situation is, you have no right. We have no right to comment on someone else's lifestyle. Period, end. You just don't. You can think it, but you don't never ever voice it. It's not. And what assistance is she? Are they government assistance? Are they talking about your child tax credit? Right?
Yeah.
That's the tax.
The other benefits.
Yeah, that's a tax credit. Okay, so it's something that is, you know, that this country decided was something that needed to go back into the community, that little bit that they do put back into our taxes. I find it, I hear the comments every single day, you know, like constantly we're hearing it. And unless you know, there's always an understanding, and I'm not a bleeding heart. I know some people think I am, but I'm not the bleeding heart, and I certainly think that as I said earlier, for every single person that walks in the door, there's a different story. And it's really important to know the other side of that story and to understand the root of where they're coming from. So, and again, the comments, and why not have those things that other people have? I don't, it does infuriate me. I'm very passionate about it. I don't get it. I don't let it slide. I don't let the comments go. I think it's really important to, yeah.
Okay.
You got to get on the comment page and write some of the comments.
No.
What are your?
I don't.
What are your? Just tell us. What are your hopes for your son? Tell us what do you want for him in life?
Well, obviously, I want him to go further in school than high school, although he doesn't think so.
Gonna live with you forever.
Yep. Yeah, I'd do that too. As long as he's going through school, he can live with me.
But what do you want? What do you really want? Like, deep down as a mother, what do you want for him?
I want him to have everything, just like any mother would want.
Yeah.
I want him to go do what he wants to do, what he wants to grow up to be, not, you know, just finish high school. That's it.
Okay. Do you, when he gets older and he looks back on his life at 6 years old, do you think he's going to think that he lived in poverty? Will you want him to think that?
He's seen the article. I mean, mind you, it's look him in the paper. But you know what? If I print off some of those comments that were said,
ashamed, yeah.
It said she's a strong mom.
You feel strong?
You know, and is doing right for my son. Like, there was tons of good comments. And I mean, that just makes me feel good. I don't need things from people. That just hits it right on the spot.
You feel strong?
Just seeing those comments, I do too. I know I can make it.
Okay. What's your hope when you see children? You must see a lot of children, right? Come through community care.
See a lot of children, and
what's your hope for them? What is your hope for them?
I hope for them that they have a mom who, like Tanya, who loves them as much as she loves her son. You hope that in the beginning, because then I think one of the things I hope is that poverty isn't going to be shamed, right? It's not. You shouldn't be shamed because you have an impoverished background, or that I think the important things that should stick out for children is the love, the time they spent with their family, the kind of quality that their parent tried to provide, that their parent did their best. I think that's really important as much as having all the material things, and if for a child to know their parents struggle makes it that much more difficult, because sometimes you share your struggles with your children, and maybe you shouldn't, but you do. And that's the human piece, right? That's the human part of who we are.
Okay, all right. But is there something in your heart? Do we need to do something for
We
the
absolutely
children?
need to do something for the children.
What is
but it's a big, and it's funny, you said, this is the first on the discussion of poverty tonight, and today was another first. This morning was the first time that the region had, through a series of events that happened, they hosted the first discussion or presentation on a guaranteed income for all Canadian families. It's not new. I don't think anything we've said here tonight is new, but I think what has to happen is that the talk has to continue happening. It has to go forward. There is a lot of gray areas, a lot of work that needs to be done, but it cannot stop now. Other years, other decades, the conversation has stopped. It has to be a political move, and only political. All of the parties have to get behind it, just keep talking about it, because that is the only way we're going to have a future for the children who are coming into community care.
Okay.
If the inequality with salaries is ridiculous, all over the globe, the level of people who have and the have-nots, I mean, the gap is getting larger and larger. There will be no middle class very shortly. Probably we will see that, and I think it's really important for the future of our children.
Okay, just hold it there for a sec. Hold it there for a sec. I know you're on a roll, but I do want to talk to Tanya. Because we were sort of joking, although I know it's not funny at all, that you've become known as the Pepsi woman. So just explain to us why you have to drink Pepsi when you don't have your son, in order to make that food dollar stretch and to pay the grocery bills. Why do you have to do that?
Hey, I like Pepsi.
Choice.
Yeah, and I do not shop at a corner store for pop.
But you do that. Why?
There was a comment though that said, she goes corner store. No, Foodland had 3 cases for $9.99. I do shop properly to go by prices. And when I don't have my son, how much time do you have for a break at work? Not very long. Lunch seems to fly by. Last break flies by. there isn't really much time to eat. At least, you know, I don't want to rush. And this way, I'm able to save for better food for when my son's over. I mean, if I'm invited to my friend's house to eat, go to my friend's house and eat. I mean, if I'm offered food, I'll, you know, go where, and yeah, it doesn't bother me that I drink pop.
It doesn't, you don't feel, I don't know, second class, or I'm not sure what the word is, but you don't feel put out by the fact that you're working, you don't have enough money for groceries, and it's sort of come to this, that you got to drink pop to make those food dollars work.
I guess I don't have to. It's my choice. I'm sure I could get orange juice or, you know, things like that. It's just, pop is so convenient.
Okay, hold it there. Her story is not different from a lot of people?
No.
What do other people do to make those food dollars? What do they do?
Sometimes they don't eat.
Some examples.
Yeah, sometimes they don't eat, or they, as you know, Irene said, she eats a lot of peppers because that's what we have right now. Again, it comes down to someone what they're prioritizing, and what they don't do. They do go to. Some of them will go to, you know, the breakfast program. They will go to the Out of the Cold when it's on. I'm talking in St. Catharines because that's where I'm most familiar with. But sometimes people don't eat. And worse, what comes with the not eating and the not having, you know, just that, always that lack is absolute loneliness, despair, feeling of isolation that we can, I see it in people's eyes and I can empathize with it, but I shouldn't even say I can empathize with it, but I see it when, how desperate people are sometimes. And it's something that unless you're in that situation or have a smidgen of compassion for somebody else, you can't possibly understand. You can't possibly get. If you absolutely understood that position where people make their choices, there wouldn't be comments like this. And there wouldn't be people making six figures and people living on minimum wage. There wouldn't be the judgment. People can't possibly understand what it's absolutely like when it comes to that. You know, I heard somebody today said, she just closes her blinds, she doesn't want to bother with anybody, and she was a couple of days ago suicidal. And she forced herself.
But why? Why does she close her blinds?
And because just the absolute, what's happened, she always worked, and then she became ill. And she raised kids, and all of a sudden, then she's totally impoverished. There's no extra money, and her shame and her guilt and her feeling of despair and hopelessness has taken over.
Shame at being poor?
Yes, yes. Shame at being in the situation that she's in. And then you have people can make comments in the paper like they do. It's like, you know. And this is not new. I mean, you know, there was Bob Cratchit back in the Dickens day, and I mean, it's, you know.
Well, with the pop thing too,
the bells of St. Mary's.
If you look at, if I'm getting a case of pop for $3.99.
Yeah.
How many people go to Tim Hortons and their coffee's over $1 or something?
Oh, we could sit here for hours.
That's like
and do
$12 for
you know,
12
how many
coffees.
people go to, yeah. You know, because it's part of our society. People are paying $5 for a coffee at Starbucks. So, you know, can they afford it? Some not. I mean, I had the habit. I couldn't afford it, and I was going to, and it just gets crazy. But we don't have the right to judge someone else's decisions.
Okay, all right. So you're just saying it's what you got to do, and it's the math. Okay, so I want to, we are nearing the end of this. We are nearing the end of this discussion. It's gone far too fast, I think. But I want to, we're here because we're trying to get this conversation started. So I do want to leave part of the last word to Catherine, but I want to read an online comment first. I saw this this morning, and I just want to read it, and it'll get you started. And this person said, we need a total shift in attitude in how we look at poverty in Canada, and we need to quit blaming and pointing fingers and looking down our noses at people who are not like us. So, big sweeping question, Catherine. What do we need to do?
That's so absolutely true. I mean, when you're pointing a finger, then there are 4 pointing back at you. Pointing fingers and blaming, whether it's whoever you want to blame, is not going to work. It's not going to get us out of the situation. Right now, there's a whole big movement on blaming the immigrants, you know, blame, 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 and that's not going to help us. What we need to do is look at the bigger picture, look outside the box, keep the conversation going about a guaranteed annual income, look at the way we do taxes, and I'm sorry, I'm all for raising taxes. Nobody have a heart attack here, but I think taxes well spent in any community, in any country, is the only way that we're going to make some significant changes. Maybe not in our day, but I think the key here is to keep the conversation going. It can't die now. People have to talk about poverty. They have to talk about it on many different levels. They have to talk about how maybe sometimes, you know, it's not so bad living in poverty. You can be really creative, and you know, like, there has to be a positive spin somewhere. We can't be looking at the negatives. We can't be looking at I was just thinking, as soon as I heard the positive spin, community care is coming up for its 95th anniversary, and although 95 years ago things haven't changed, they've changed a little bit, but the thing is that now community care, they've embraced more than just the food piece. And so there's poverty of spirit, poverty of, we're not just talking about money, but money is the thing that can bring us down. But I think we need to start looking at this community in this country, what other things we're impoverished in. And one of them is not caring for each other anymore. You know, the whole individualistic thing has taken over. The me generation from the 80s has hurt us, and the fact that we don't keep, you know, it's really easy to blame, but we don't keep the people accountable that need to be accountable for what we do. So,
okay. All right. So we need to be talking,
yeah,
and be accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. We're going to wrap it up now. Yeah, okay. So we are going to wrap it up now, unfortunately. I need to do a couple of quick thank yous. First to the Mahtay Cafe for hosting us tonight, downtown St. Catharines, and to Bill Jansen. He's at Future Access, and he provided our live internet feed tonight. Most importantly, I need to thank our 4 people that were here with us tonight: Catherine, Tanya, Irene, and Lisa back there wherever you went. Please remember this, Lisa. Please remember this is just a beginning, okay? A start of something that will hopefully get much bigger and better, okay, as we go on. We need to keep the conversation going, and one of the ways that you can do this, the standard is setting up a phone line for people to call in, offer your comments, your story. We'd like to hear from you. It's called the Faces of Poverty message line, 905-684-7251, and it's extension 1166. So please keep tweeting, talking. We need to make some changes, and we want to hear from you. So for the St. Catharines Standard, Niagara Falls Review, Welland Tribune, I'm Cheryl Clock, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.